didn't really listen to 1D and all. I think I still like feel like I'm suffering from the effects now when I'm like, with my friends. Sometimes they play at the party or the club, and I'm like, wait, I don't know this song, but like everyone knows. Like, it's like a everyone knows kind of thing. Hello there, welcome back to another episode of Talk Le, a podcast where we look into the different factors affecting one's Chinese Singaporean identity. Today, we'll be looking at education, or specifically the types of schools and how that will affect one's Chineseness or one's Chinese Singaporean identity. So we're really happy to have with us today Su and Hui Xing to be on the podcast for them to share a little bit more about how their education journey has influenced their Chinese Singaporean identity.
So hi, my name is Su. I'm 23 this year, and I spent the first 10 years of my education in a all-girls convent school, after which I went to Singapore Poly, and then now I'm at NUS in my final year in Communications and New Media.
Okay, so I'm Hui Xing. I'm 22 this year, so I'm a final year 4 student at NUS studying sociology, and before this for 6 years I was actually at River Valley High School. So the secondary school wing, the first 4 years, it's actually a SAP school, which is Special Assistance Plan School. So we have basically a bit more Chinese related activities, enrichment programs.
So just now you were saying that you were from a religious school, right? So
Yep.
Can you share a little bit more about what a religious school is?
It's more rooted in religious teaching, so in terms of the values, the kind of programs that we have. So you all only do like your pledge and like your morning announcements, all these, right? We have to go through morning masses as well, and we also have like religious related events and holidays.
Wow.
Yeah, so I think that's the little
Extra
perks.
holiday.
Yeah.
Okay, so maybe both of you can share a little bit more about why you chose to enroll in for you St. Anthony's Canossian primary, secondary, and for you River Valley High School, and what are some of the memories that you might have of the school?
For me, mine is really specifically just because it's the distance. It's really, really near my house.
Right.
So my mom didn't think twice and just like brought me there. And I think what I really enjoyed, or like my core memory there, is just the freedom for us to really be ourselves, be a girl. Yeah, so I know I had conversations with like all my other co-ed school friends.
Right.
I think they are a lot more rigid, or like a lot more or more conservative there. Whereas like in an all-girls school, you can cry, you can like just be dramatic, you can just be like very theatrical, like do whatever you want. And also the kind of like conversation and topics that we grew up kind of talking and navigating is also very different. So I did enjoy my time there, and if I have kids, probably not in the future, I would actually really like send my kids there as well, because I even though I'm not religious myself, I'm not Catholic,
Right.
but I did enjoy the kind of like learning I got.
Okay, for me, I think there were two main considerations. So it was, I wanted to go to a SAP school because the logic behind it was like I was doing pretty well in Chinese, and I was like, okay, I want to go to a SAP school and like further that.
Right.
And then the second part was that I wanted to go to an IP school, like integrated program, so that helps me like bypass the O-levels, because I felt like PSA was very stressful, and I was like, I don't really want to do this in 4 years, so I wanted to go somewhere that was IP and SAP, so that already kind of limits my options to a few more. And then I think based on like realistic cut-off point, I didn't really want to go to Nanyang because I heard like it's very stressful there and all, and I was like, okay. And then I think in my social circles, I had quite a few seniors who went to RV and like quite enjoyed the environment, so I was like, okay, like it kind of checks off all the boxes of what I wanted, which is why I chose to enroll there when like my score could make it for RV.
I see. So what are some of the memories that you have of RV?
Memories. Okay, I would say like it's definitely very distinctly like so-called Chinese. I think first thing is like when you go in, all the school motto, school values, 校训 and all, they're like all in like calligraphy form. The school song is in Chinese, and it's like the calligraphy thing is at the main gate also. The pillars are like I don't know, it's just very like Chinese, if you know what I mean. Like it's like red. Our garden has bamboo trees, circular gate. They name places like the circular gate is called Li Demen. Library has a Chinese name that I have forgotten. The auditorium, I mean, was named Ming Hui Tang. Somewhere when I was in between, I was there. I think it's a very constant referencing, and I guess you mentioned you have mass like in the morning. For us, in the pledge, if I recall correctly, it's like alternate weeks. We recite it in Chinese. So when I transitioned to JC, which was when they had the JAE for the batch after me, they like, so it's only English for the JC morning assembly. For the secondary school side, we always alternate. So I think on a day-to-day basis, they try to like insert little pockets of like Chinese, Mandarin, whether culture or like just speaking the language itself. And maybe like memories, I remember like we have this thing called TGIF, like concerts in the canteen every Friday. And like the songs are voted, then somebody will perform lah, like who's willing to perform. And there will always be Mandopop. I guess because of the ethnic like homogeneity, people tend to also like this kind of music, and even if you don't enjoy it, someone would, so you just kind of like end up vibing to it anyway. Yeah.
Speaking of Mandopop, since for you, does anybody listen to Mandopop in your school or not much?
I am surrounded with the more Chinese demographic community because I took higher mother tongue, higher Chinese in both secondary and primary school. So most of my friends or the people that hang out with, they are a lot more affluent or also more into this style of Mandopop as well. But I think unlike you, the kind of music that I grew, my friends or the peers grew up listening to is all the Hollywood singers. So we have like the Wanted, One Direction. So it's a very a huge contrast, I would say. Yeah, until I think K-pop came around and it took over the world.
I mean, I would say it's not like all my friends listen to Mandopop, but definitely a lot more compared to say like my university friends or when I speak to other people, because I think it's not only that, but also I think RV has kind of a bit of like a singer-songwriter culture, like Singyao. They try to promote that. I think they are like alumni, and like all our songs in school are like usually written in Chinese. Only until recently when we start having like non-ethnically Chinese students, then they tried to like also reduce that and have more like English written songs written in English by the students. But other than that, previously all the songs, like we have things like for my batch, our graduation song was written by one of my batchmates, and he wrote it in Chinese. It's called Li Hua Yi. And then we have like school folk songs like Li Hua Mei Nu, and there's like it's called Li Hua Mei Nu.
So direct.
The alumni have this song called Qing Shun Pi An, and it's like all in Chinese. So I think maybe like music wise, there's that a lot more than maybe the other aspects from what I remember, because a lot of the songs written in school, written for the school, or like, and then when we orientation, there's a Li Hua Qing, like when you go in, when you go out, like it's just like Chinese, like all sorts of, especially through music, like, I would say.
Right. So because it's so Chinese heavy, right? Would you say that most of your schoolmates and friends, they are also interested in Chinese culture, in Chinese language, therefore they chose RB?
Actually, no.
Please elaborate.
Okay. I think for me, like based on my personal observations and like opinion, is that a lot of people actually go in because it's an IB school. So like the main focus is kind of to bypass the O level. I think it's like the SEP school part is like more of a good add-on, but it's not a consideration that everyone has. So especially I think for those who stay in the West, like RV is definitely the nearest school in the like Boon Lay area, Jurong East. Because other than that, I think the nearest SEP school or like IP school would be like Nanyang, NJ, and Hwa Chong, which are like Bukit Timah area. But in the West, RV is like kind of the only one there. I think to most people, it's just like let me take higher Chinese so that I don't have to do it in JC kind of thing. So not say like super integral in their life,
Based on my understanding or my friends that go to SEP schools, they have additional classes. Do you all have? Please correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
Like in Chinese culture, immersion, maybe like calligraphy and stuff like that. So do you think that your classmates like enjoy that, or personally for you, how do you find?
I think it was kind of fun, like because it's not graded. Like I think it's one of those subjects like PE. I feel like you get a grade, but it doesn't affect like your GPA.
Right.
So it's just like there. It's like an immersion. We had this thing called 文史课, like in English it's like RE Lit.
In Chinese.
So they get like external vendors usually. No, there's like different segments of 文史. So there's the you read the 水浒传 all that kind, and then your Chinese teacher goes through and you have to like read it. Like we analyze it a week. Then there are like more fun activities where they get external vendors. So I know we did the Dell curve for like the name chop. And like I think other schools also have this kind of enrichment program like the 母语双周, but like so they bring you to the 中乡总会 to exposure. And then another thing is that the whole batch gets to go to either China or Taiwan in Sec 2. Very heavily subsidized. So I think that's definitely a privilege that we have like compared to other schools.
So now we want to hear from you, Sue. From a convent school, I would assume that it's quite different from what Hui Xing has shared. And in fact, I saw this post on Zula when I was researching for this topic. Okay, it's about how to identify convent girls. And then one of the ways to identify is jiak kantang ones that suck at Mandarin so bad. So your thoughts, how true do you think this statement is?
I can see where they are coming from, this opinion, and I do not completely disagree. It's true, and I think it's huge contrast compared to what her experience was. Because even for me, even though I took a higher mother tongue class, I think for you guys it's compulsory. Everyone takes it, right?
Everyone takes.
Yeah, we in our huge cohort we only have one class, and unlike you guys, we had to take additional after school lessons as well, just to make sure that we're on par with the rest of the nation. A lot of things is really just for the practical benefits that comes with it, and also the kind of learning you can see. I'm not the best in Mandarin as well. Ask me to write right now, I cannot write for you. But the fact is that this kind of standard was considered one of the better ones in my class. So you can imagine just in terms of quality or in terms of the kind of of fluency, how it is in convent school. And we also have basic Chinese as well compared to SEP school. So I think I asked around as well, my express Chinese classmates, how's the experience like? Right. And a lot of them found it very painful. I have friends that would be I would rather just drop to basic Chinese because I only just need to do MCQ during exams. And also a lot of times I think we don't see the benefit of having a mother tongue or taking up Chinese as well. But similar to you, we do have opportunities, but it's only really for the higher mother tongue students where we get to go to China for overseas trip, for the kind of immersion, and representing school for competitions. So it's a different kind of experience that I got, and I think in terms of also demographic population, I think you probably have a lot of students from overseas, from China, for example. We only have 2 in my entire cohort, and you can imagine the kind of standard they have, right? So I think there's a bit of difference lah.
So reflecting on both of your education journeys, specifically the types of schools that you have attended, how has that shaped your Chinese Singaporean identity? And if not, then what other factors do you think contributed to this identity?
For me, I think I embarked on this higher mother tongue journey, or this very Chinese journey through误打误撞进去 that kind of experience, because I was proficient in it, so I just continued ever since primary school. What I really enjoyed was the kind of learning I get, also the kind of peers that I get to learn from, and also the opportunities as you mentioned. I got to go on a very heavily subsidized trip to Shenyang. That was a really good memory. And after which I also got to represent school also for some of the competitions that they threw us in, maybe to hit the KPI or something. And also because my higher mother tongue teacher, she was actually new when I was in year 1, and she came from African High actually. So I think she had a culture shock. But I think what was very enjoyable was that because of her experience, she actually followed us through all 4 years of our mother tongue journey, and that kind of companionship with a teacher through 4 years, I think she really helped shape my interests and also help me improve step by step. But I would say that I come from a very Chinese-speaking family. Right. My parents are hawkers, and we speak dialect at home. We speak Chinese at home. So to me, education is just maybe 1/5 of it. Most of it actually comes from my media consumption and the kind of language I speak at home. Because my parents can't speak English, and also since young, I grew up listening to Mandopop. So they The Wanted and all these, right? I grew up listening to Furion High.
Yes.
Grew up listening to all these kind of SHE Mandopop. So I would feel that this kind of media consumption, and even media corp content, for example, right? I grew up watching Channel 8 show. All these, right? So I think all these really kind of shaped me as a Chinese Singaporean.
Leading back to the media consumption thing, right? Same. I think I watched a lot of Channel 8 content, you mentioned. I didn't really watch Cartoon Network and all the kind of things. I watch a lot of Channel 8 Mediacorp dramas. I would religiously watch like the 9 o'clock, 7 o'clock, all that kind of things. And I mean, I don't watch it anymore now, but I would say even now in terms of my media consumption, I don't watch Channel 8 shows anymore, but I would like maybe look out for Singaporean like Mandopop artists. Similarly for me, like my parents speak English, but for my father especially, like my father was Chinese educated. Actually, he's also an RV alumni. So because of that, like I think we speak, and I stay with my grandmother's who doesn't speak English, so I think we speak a bit more Mandarin, even though it's like a mix. And then growing up in the car, we also listen to the radio all the time. So I think that the exposure also the same. Didn't really listen to 1D and all. I think I still like feel like I'm suffering from the effects now when I'm with my friends. Sometimes, you know, they play at the party or the club, and I'm like, wait, I don't know this song, but like everyone knows. Like, it's like everyone knows kind of thing. But I would say that maybe I know the most like popular ones, but it's like the second one I don't, because like most of the songs I listen to are either like Mandopop, like from young, or like from like primary school to secondary school up to now, like K-pop also.
Right.
So sometimes I'm like, wait, maybe I'm like missing out, but it's not like terrible. And also I think in terms of maybe like the educational experiences, I would definitely say that I think that was the most like intensely Chinese period of my life, because like, just the fact that I'm going there every day and like there's always some sort of new activity, and compared to maybe my primary school where it wasn't a SEP school, so it was just really through the language itself, and then having that like intensified version of this like Chinese education. There's definitely also sometimes where I feel like, oh, I'm a SEP school student, and I tell people, like, for example, I think there were definitely opportunities that I got because of my background. For example, like when I was applying for like a freelance job, because it just so happened to be about like Singaporean Chinese like history stuff. And then he's like, wait, you're from RV? That's like, are you like pretty proficient? I'm like, not bad. And then like I also happened to, because it was working for something at the Sun Yat-sen Nanyang Memorial Hall, and I used to be like a little student guide, and then I think it kind of like just aligned, and I was like, I felt like it did present me with opportunities, even though maybe that's also kind of aligned with what I'm studying in uni now, like so history and all, but I think it definitely did help along the way.
So on a more macro scale, do you all feel that schools or the education system has a key part to play in developing one's cultural and ethnic identity as a Chinese Singaporean? If not, who do you think should be responsible?
I would think education play like one part, and I think it's important also especially for families who do not speak or practice Chinese at home. Yes, and I think as you talk about like the whole cultural part, I think we did also grow up learning like Hao Gong Ming. So I think there's some type of like values and meta, or I don't know, that kind of thing that can be taught through like mother tongue, because that's where they say your roots come from. Having just that space for you to practice and to be exposed to it, I think that's very important, especially for say like convent girl students who maybe it's not as intense as like the SEP school students, so I would say education is important, but I think it's how they try to evolve with time, because I think the old school way just doesn't work anymore. You just need to make lessons interesting. So I think one thing great that my school did was infusing the creativity part, where we got to learn Mandarin through like film production, through media consumption, pop culture reference. So I think these are avenues where we can promote more interest in Chinese perhaps. And I mean right now we have like S-pop.
The competition.
And there's so many great singers that came out from Singapore as well. JJ Lin, Sun Yanzi, all these. So I think it would be great if we could have that Manyao thing also. I think that was a very interesting point that culture that your school did, which I found that would probably spark a lot more interest in students. But I wonder what you think.
Like on the school experience. Okay, I think at the end of the day, it kind of also really depends, because especially for us, like the resources are really there for you. It's like, I mean, of course, some things are like selective, like teacher chooses you based on your ability or your interest in it. But I think since there are like opportunities presented, especially in like a SEP school context, right? It's really more of up to you to harness it. And I think, to be very honest with the general population, they can't just go through the curriculum without thinking too much. But for me, I would say I definitely like recall my times there with like fondness, even though sometimes it's like, oh, I don't want to read this Chinese book, but you know what, it's okay. Like I think there are a lot of like aspects and fun, and as you mentioned, like because there's a lot more like opportunities, whether through like smaller enrichment programs or bigger things like overseas immersion programs, like on a day-to-day basis, because you're just really exposed to it, that I think it definitely helps. But I would also say that the kind of environment is not for everyone, right? Especially for those who maybe like really don't speak it at home, they might find it too much of like a culture shock, to come into a school like that, or to some people maybe it's just one aspect of the school, but they don't really care. So I would say like the onus really it has to come from the student, and so I think what schools can do, as you mentioned, is to not just only go the traditional route of teaching, because I think a lot of maybe from my experience, especially when you're going to the O-level higher Chinese side, a lot of it is like please lah, like 考好, like 你考好你就不用 like 以后不用再 take H1 Chinese, but there's a bit of like a very end goal kind of like achieve that goal of not taking H1 Chinese mindset. Whereas I would say maybe especially at the like earlier years, it's a bit more chill lah. So I think you don't take it that, maybe not saying don't take it that seriously, but they get to infuse other aspects of like this kind of activities that try to spark your interest through like consumption and all. And especially for students who maybe don't come from families like us where we listen or watch because of the people around us at like the age, maybe if they get exposed to it at Sec 1, Sec 2, or if they can continue that, I would say that's a great thing. But also, I think maybe up till now, a lot of people don't see the relevance of it anymore, especially at the university level. If you're not taking a Chinese related subject, practically everything is in English. And for a lot of people, they find that if they are not going to like the Chinese like markets, for example, then there's no need for it. I just need to know how to order Caifan, which is not wrong.
You don't need to order just 这个那个.
Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, I think everyone just thinks that like it's a very practical kind of slant to it. It's like, is there a relevance to my job or what? And if not, then I wouldn't venture into it. So I think to really like cultivate interest, it really just has to come from yourself, whether or not that's through influence or like a room from at home or in school, or like through your own consumption. It's really kind of your owners, especially now that you don't take it as a formal subject in school anymore.
I like the part where you say it's up to the individual, because I think especially now that we are all traveling a lot more.
Yeah.
I think really for a Singaporean, it's kind of like a good plus points. I feel like a bonus that a lot of us know like at least 2 languages. So the kind of like culturally immersion, like exchange that we get, because I went for a summer exchange, like in university. When I was in like my host university, I get to speak to like the Chinese speaking students who were struggling with English. So I think like these are actually relevance of having learning this mother tongue or learning this like your second language. Which I think I guess it's more of like how do we shift away from like doing it just for the grades.
A very practical, pragmatic approach, right? How do we
maybe it should not be more so focused on like its grades or how we're performing, but really how can it benefit us in our life, in our everyday lived experience.
Which I would say that maybe in like my SEP school experience, I feel like I did mention that especially in Sec 4 there's a lot of that focus on doing well in the O-levels. I would say that generally on a basis, I think they definitely really try to inject like a bit more fun activities, whether through song, through music, through performance, or like even things like 中秋节 festivals, which are pretty big in our school, and all to like make it fun for you to experience this, especially if you don't already experience it outside of the institutional context. So I would definitely say that I don't know how feasible it is that for other schools, because like I know that it's because of the resources, also because of the demographic of the students that they can have like so many like Chinese activities, like Chinese related activities. But I would definitely say like injecting that little bit of fun lah.
We have come to the end of this episode where we look into how the education system and the types of school have influenced one's Chineseness. So we hope that through this episode, it can also get you thinking and reflecting back on your education journey and how that has influenced your Chineseness. So stay tuned to the next episode, which is also our last episode, where we look at how naturalized Singaporeans perceive their Chinese Singaporean identity. Thank you, Su'a, thank you, Hui Xing, for coming on to this episode, and we'll catch you all next episode. Bye bye!